Okay, in this video, I'm going to try to show you from start to finish how to make this glove or glovelet on this open source knitting machine that you can 3D print. And I'm going to be using this pattern here, which I will link this in the description. And the things that the techniques I will show are going to be casting on, how to do this rib section here, meaning you're going to have to reform these stitches. I'll show how to do this cabling here. In this case, this is like a braided cable. Try to demonstrate this fully fashioned widening here for the thumb, and then another rib section at the top, and then casting off. And then we'll do the striping as well. So there's a technique to do the striping and then to weave those ends in. All right, we're going to start with casting on. Now on my particular setup here, I've only populated the exact number of needles that I know I need for this. Doesn't have to be that way, but it's just more convenient for me. And I've also labeled, because I do this pattern a lot, I've labeled where the thumb is on each side, how many needles. We got five needles on each side. And I've also labeled where these cable stitch moves happen. So it makes it easier to identify where those happen. So the first thing we want to do is, for casting on, we don't want the thumb, but we do want all of these. So we're going to pull all of these out. To do our cast on. Okay. All right, I moved down a little bit lower to get a better view of the needle bed. We're going to start with the wrist part, and we're going to start with our stripe color for the wrist, and we're going to cast this on. And the method we're going to use is essentially a crochet type chain stitch. Okay. All right, I have this in another video, but I'll go over it again. We're also going to leave a very long tail, because we're going to use this tail to be the mattress stitch that then sews up the glove off the seam. So leave a very long tail for this to start with. All right, so you have your yarn here to the left hand side. You bring your crochet needle. It's the same needle as this, but it comes in a kit, usually a tool you can buy on Amazon. You start from the outside in and go under, and then now you go inside to out and then pull it down through like so. And you just keep repeating that over and over again. And you want to make sure that the latch opens, you get the full yarn, and then the latch then closes before it goes into that next loop, and you pull down. And we're capturing each needle as we go. So I'm doing it really slow right now, but you could actually get pretty fast with this once you get moving. When you get to a certain point, you can let go of this yarn and then just start essentially crocheting. It's like a crochet cast on. And you do this all the way to the end here. All right, I'm going to cut and we'll come back when we get over to here. Okay, we're almost to the end here. We'll do our last couple. Okay, and this last one, this loop, we're going to pull the needle back and put it in over there. And now this yarn needs to go down and under. All right. So that's the first part of our cast on. Now we want to put our needles into the knitting position, but we want to also make sure the latches are open. So we just use this card, open up all these latches, and we want to put them in the knitting position, which means the latch, we want the latch basically touching the yarn without closing. That's going to be our knitting position. And some people make a tool that allows you to just push all these in simultaneously, but I'm just doing it by hand right now. All right, we'll do that all the way across. All right, so we have all of our needles in the knitting position. Make sure all the latches are open. Our yarn is coming out from the bottom over here. We're just going to sort of just loosely dangle this over. And for this first course backwards, I'm going to do it by hand because we want a little more loop length, and I don't want to have to adjust the carriage. This is not a carriage that has an automatic adjustment. You'd have to unscrew it and screw it back in. So instead of changing the setting on the carriage, we're just going to do it manually on this first row. Since we don't have any weight on this yet, we're going to do it manually. We're going to do it very carefully, but we're going to get ourselves a little bit longer loop length. So probably about like 3/8 of an inch loop length, just doing this by hand. Just going all the way across. And you want to be very careful to make sure that the latch, as you're doing this, the latch clears the cast on yarn, but also captures the course that you're trying to knit. All right, you just do that all the way across. All right, and I'll meet you on this side. All right, now we've done all the way to the end here. Now we're going to get our claw weights. You can get these pretty common online. You get them even from Amazon. This is just a set of just typical machine knitting claw weights. And we're going to pull these down. Usually I start at the end because I want a weight on the very end on each side, because the ends are where the weights are going to be critical. And then we're going to try and space these out. We're going to do 6 weights total for this. We want to kind of space them out evenly as possible here. Put another weight here. Another weight here. And we'll just make sure that these are pulling. All right, the tension from the weights is critical for knitting stitches, right? It's critical to have tension on this pulling down. Otherwise, you won't be able to make stitches. All right, now the next part is we'll thread the carriage and we'll do our first row. All right, this is the carriage. If you've seen some of the other videos, this carriage I've actually custom made to have a more tension here. By tension, I mean there's more pull on the needle, so it travels farther and you get a longer loop length. And partially that's because I also have modified this to be a larger gauge. So the spacing here is I think it's 7.75 millimeters, which is normally 6.5 millimeters is the gauge. I'm using this larger gauge because it gives me like a more bulky feel to the yarn, even though this is a worsted weight. It's number 4 yarn, but it gives like a more open knit, which I like. All right, we want to make sure that the thumb are going to be in the hold position. So this is a non-knitting position. There's some machines where you can keep these all the way back, but because this carriage has been modified, there is no back position. So we're going to keep this in the hold position up here. We want this thread to be on top of that, and then we thread this yarn into our carriage like so. All right, now we're ready to do our first pass. All right, now because these weights are not We don't have enough courses here for this weight to be fully distributed, so we want to be very careful when we do this first pass. So we're going to do it very slowly. Make sure these needles are all the way up in the hold position. So this is a non-knitting, it's like a non-knitting forward position. We'll come across here. And very carefully move the carriage across. You see we're knitting pretty well. You may have to pull the weights on this first pass, just pull them slightly by hand to make sure that you're giving the right tension. All right, so that looks good. All of our needles knit on that pass. All right, now we'll go backwards. This one we're going to start speeding up because we don't have to be quite as careful once we got that first one. All right. We missed a couple here. I'm going to fix that. We just missed a couple of those little threads there. All right. And also this weight, probably because that weight wasn't set right. Okay. Now the weights are looking pretty good. Technically we did 4 passes. We did our cast on row and then back by hand and then 1 pass here and 1 pass here. So we're on course number 4. And for this, we're going to go all the way up to course number 14. So we need 10 more courses for this wrist, for this color. And then this will be sort of like a stripe. And then we're going to change threads to a different color. All right, so I just sort of fixed those 2, but everything else looked good. We're going to do, this is number 4. We need 14, so we're going to do 10 more courses. So that's 8 out of 14. Every once in a while we want to adjust this because the edges are most critical. We want to move this claw weight up just to make sure we're getting good tension on this very end needle here. All right, so that's number 8. I'm going to go ahead and do 6 more and I'll meet you at 14.